Welcome to Thyroid and Autoimmune Revival. I'm Naomi Suzanne from Naomi's Home Health, and I'm a holistic health coach that specializes in thyroid and autoimmune healing. In this episode, we're going to be talking about emotional health strategies. Now, last episode, we talked about mental health strategies and how mental health and emotional health go hand in hand with each other. So it's really important to follow up last week's episode with the emotional health strategies. So, emotional health, as I said previously, is understanding and managing your emotions. It's your ability to cope with both positive and negative emotions and your awareness of them. So emotions are like an automatic physiological response to stimuli. They're often immediate and instinctual. They arise in the subconscious part of the brain, and they are survival mechanisms, alerting you to like potential threats or rewards, and they prepare us to take action. So we get the emotion first, then we get a thought, then we get a feeling, and then the behavior. People think the emotion comes last, but it comes first. You get that emotion straight away. So they can trigger physical reactions in our body, like a racing heart. You might be sweating, get butterflies, feel sick in the stomach pain, back pain. Your emotional health is directly connected to your physical body. So feelings are different to emotions. They are conscious awareness and interpretation of emotions. They are experiences, influenced by personal thoughts, memories, and beliefs. So feelings, they're like longer lasting than emotions. They involve cognitive processes where you evaluate and label your emotion. So feelings are different to emotions. So emotional health is one aspect of mental health. And as I mentioned in the previous podcast, it can affect your physical body if you leave it to decline. So your emotional center of your brain, this is how it'll affect your physical body, right? The emotional center of your brain is in the middle of your brain. Your emotional center, it's connected to your sense of smell. It's right in the middle of your brain. It's what evokes a memory, it evokes an emotion, and that is connected to your central nervous system. So this is why you can feel sick in the stomach when you have an emotional response to something. Like, when you smell something and it doesn't smell pleasant and you feel sick in the stomach, that's an emotional response to that smell. So it's really important to start to really acknowledge emotions. So many people have learned to block their emotions. So growing up, you've learned through different situations and experiences in your life to stop feeling. You probably get told by adults in your life, don't feel that way. Why do you feel like that? Stop crying. Stop jumping around and having fun. Like, there's a lot of stop, don't do that when you're a kid, particularly around emotions. Why are you crying about that? That's nothing to cry about. A lot of the time, your emotions are valid for you. And when other people are stopping you from feeling an emotion, you start to practice this. You start to practice not feeling. And then when in life, you've had past hurt or trauma, you start to block those emotions because you don't want to be hurt anymore. You're preventing any pain, any grief, any sadness, or whatever. So just because we teach ourselves to not feel our emotions, it doesn't mean we don't have them. So if we don't feel, we don't get hurt, right? So if we don't feel sadness, or if we don't put ourselves out there, if we don't have emotions, we don't feel for somebody else, then we can't get hurt. So this is what people do when they block their emotions. But when we block our emotions, we don't just block one emotion. We don't block sadness. We don't block grief. We end up blocking happiness, joy, contentment, all of these things that, you can't just pick one emotion and block that. You end up blocking them all. And a lot of it ends up being anger. Anger is a reaction. So when you have learned to block your emotions, generally what comes down in a lot of situations with you is anger. So blocking your emotions is not preventing you from hurting. It's actually causing hurt to other people a lot of time. When you have blocked your emotions, you can be somebody who is causing pain on others because you're not feeling for yourself, let alone for anybody else. So when we feel nothing, that is what we feel. Absolutely nothing, just numb. We might look happy on the outside, but it doesn't reflect what's going on the inside. Anyone can pretend that they're happy, but are you internally happy? The more we learn to block our emotions, the more it affects our physical body and our overall well-being, our mental health, how our organs function, our lymphatic system. Everything is energy. Our emotions, in particular, are high energy. It's what our body vibrates at. So when you are blocking that, your vibration is going to be low. Everything has energy. Anything and everything has energy. And when you block that energy, you are blocking how your body vibrates out to the earth. So I like to call it the volcano effect. I'm sure I've talked about this on the podcast. It's like when you push things down, you keep pushing that emotion down. You push it down, you push it down, you don't feel it. And then one day it just explodes because your body says, I can't contain all this emotion inside me anymore. I can't keep pushing this down and not letting it out. Emotions are meant to be checked in with and released and expressed. But when you're not expressing them and when you're not feeling them and when you're not checking in with them, then it's going to bubble under the surface and just bubble away. And it might come out in anger. It might come out in, you might form an addiction. It might be an illness, an autoimmune disease, cancer. A lot of these things, like people don't look at cancer as something that's happened to them in their life in an event of stress or blocking an emotional trauma or something like that. They see it as a physical condition, and it is a physical condition, but the emotional health of you 100% matters when you are going through something like cancer or autoimmune disease. Your body is telling you, I'm not happy, I'm not well, and you need to check what's going on. Just going to a doctor and getting some treatment is not going to fix yourself long term. You're not going to change that emotional stress that you've had or the lack of consideration of your own emotional needs. So it's really important to address these before the volcano explodes. Like a lot of the time, we don't even know that we suppress our emotions. I know I didn't. And I remember a friend of mine, something happened to me, and I just sort of picked myself and got on with it. And my friend that I lived with at the time was like, how do you just shut off? And I was like, I don't. And she's like, yeah, you do. You just, like, most people would be upset about this. How are you not upset? And I'm like, oh, I'm upset. But I didn't show it and I just pushed it down. And I didn't realize, and that sentence that she said to me always goes over in my head of, wow, I really do. I really have learned to push my emotions down. I really have learned to feel nothing because I was told as a kid, you shouldn't feel that way if I expressed how I felt. So I just thought, well, why should I? So as I learned through healing about emotional stress and trauma and feeling emotions, I realized, wow, I really do push emotions down. Like when I was married and I knew when my husband had cheated on me. There were situations I knew, but I couldn't prove it, right? And instead of being upset and angry or whatever, I just pushed it down and kept going, knowing full well that he had cheated, but I couldn't prove it. Like me as a person, I would have normally like wanted to know the answer. So anyway, going through my healing process, doing the emotional work, this came up. It was like, yeah, why did I suppress that? Why did I push that down? And it was because if I discovered that he had been cheating, it would have hurt. And if I had have discovered what was going on, I don't know what I would have done or how I would have coped with it. And when we broke up and I did find out about a lot of the cheating and things that he had done, when it did hurt, I had the tools to get over it, to manage my emotions, to deal with that. And I didn't just block them and go, right, next, keep moving, move on with your next problem. I actually felt it. I actually allowed myself to feel it. And it did hurt. It hurts. But I got over it quicker and my body wasn't suffering physically from this problem, from this information, because I knew what I needed to do to actually move on. So I went through the emotions and I felt them, and I did some practices that I would normally do to help myself move forward from this. I resented him for a while. I had all the normal emotions of hate, anger, I mean, all the things that you feel when you find out that someone's cheated on you a lot, and all through your whole marriage. And, um, so what I did was I went back and did all my grounding and did a lot of things that helped me move on. But then after a while, not a couple of days, but, months, I guess, I had to release that anger towards him. I had to release that resentment. I had to release a lot of emotions towards him in particular. Like, it doesn't change what he did, and I don't forget what he did, and I had to forgive him, not for his sake, for mine, because anger, resentment, lack of forgiveness for situations, all of those things, the only person that affects is yourself. He doesn't care if I resent him or hate him or any of these things, because he wouldn't have done it if he did care. But for me to hang on to that, it's going to affect my life, my energy, my health, my physical body, and my children. So I had to learn to let that go and move on from that and just get along with him as the father of my children. And we do get along. But I had to let all of that go, because the only person it was affecting was me. It was affecting my stress, my physical body in weight wise, I couldn't lose weight. And then once I did all that, a lot of these things started to go away. And this proved to me that balancing my emotions and dealing with things in a healthy way is definitely beneficial to the physical body. My energy went up, my happiness went up, like my joy, my internal happiness, like it all went up. And I know a lot of people question why I am nice to him now, or we have a friendly relationship. And for me to explain that it's not for his benefit ever. Is it for his benefit? It's for mine and my children's. So don't think that if somebody does something to you, you don't have to be in their life. Like, he wouldn't be in my life if I didn't have kids. But any situation, any person, any situation, they don't have to be in your life if you don't want them to be. But you have a choice of how you deal with it. If you're going to hate forever, you're going to be it's going to eat you up forever. So just remember that you're not doing it for that person. Take that person out of the equation, because that person doesn't care how it affects you at all, because like I said, they wouldn't have done it. You need to care about you and you first. So all this fighting and hatred and back and forth is going to do nothing for your emotional health or your mental health or your physical health. So everything that you do in helping yourself get over this situation, everything is going to benefit. And you have to stop, thinking that you need revenge, or that you need, because it never stops. Revenge never stops. You get revenge on them, they get it on you. You get it back on them. No one's going to agree who was the first person to seek the revenge, right? It's always like, I'm paying you back. So somebody has to stop the cycle of this hatred and anger. And I know sometimes when you've got somebody who's giving you hate or treating you like shit, it's really hard to rise above it. And I'm not saying to accept it at all. I'm just saying to be mindful of your mental and emotional health through these situations, because you are your own priority. So our thoughts, they affect our emotions, and our emotions affect our thoughts, which in turn affects our nervous system. So as I said before, our emotional center of our brain is directly connected to our central nervous system. So this is why we get nervous. This is why we get jitters, or why we shake, when we have an emotional response to something, because it's directly connected to our central nervous system. So we can choose our thoughts. We can't always change a situation, but we can change how we see it. We can change how we react to it. And, our mind is a tool. You've trained this tool your whole life to think the way it does. If you're a negative thinker, you've trained it to think that way. You can untrain it and retrain it to think positive and to, see how you respond in different situations. Everything is your choice. You have a choice in every situation. So factors that contribute to your emotional health problems, obviously stress, past and present, trauma, all of those things. Huge, huge. Your current environment, your partner, your children, your money, your job. Is it hectic? Is it busy? Is it dull? Do you not have much going on in your life? That environment directly affects your emotional health. Food affects your emotional health. You will see this in children. I worked in childcare for 20 years, and I watch kids have breakdowns and tantrums and look like concentration issues. The more that processed food came in, the worse kids got, the worse their behavior got. So preservatives, sugar, caffeine, sometimes gluten, depends what it is. It all can affect your emotional health because it affects your whole body. Your physical health affects your emotional health and vice versa. Chemicals, so toxicity. Now, it might sound silly, but when chemicals that you're smelling, say perfume, right? We're going to use perfume as an example. When you're putting that on your clothes, you're smelling your perfume all day. Now, your body doesn't want to inhale synthetic toxins at all. And so when you are inhaling that, you are blocking your emotional center of your brain, because you are smelling something that's not natural, and your brain's like, your emotional center's going, what's going on here? This is crazy. So it can affect your emotions. It affects your physical body, but you're blocking your sense of smell. So you're going to block other smells that will evoke a memory and an emotion. So something like a flower, for example, that might smell beautiful to you, you can't smell that because you've got perfume on, deodorant on, chemicals all through the house. You one of those air fresheners that spurt out. All of those things affect your sense of smell. And I noticed when I stopped using chemicals, my sense of smell was insane. Like, my kids are like, Mum can smell like a bloodhound. Like, I can smell anything. I'm like, what is that? What have you been eating? Like, so your sense of smell will heighten, but what you will smell is really beautiful things from now on. And any chemicals that you start to smell, you will have a physical reaction to it. Do you know, I'll show you how you have a physical reaction. If you go to a perfume counter in a department store, and they're spraying perfume everywhere, and you start to sneeze, you get a headache, you start to feel sick, that is your body saying, I do not like this. This is not what I want. So, and then you start to, you definitely start to feel it in your emotions. You start to feel a little bit annoyed, you feel irritated, and you want to get out of there as quick as possible. Those smells are changing what's going on in your body. So chemicals are very important to your emotional health, believe it or not. Another thing that affects your emotional health is your victim mode. Why me? Why did this happen to me? I can't change things. I don't want to be in this situation. Victim mentality is huge, and that's a whole nother podcast. But getting yourself out of victim mode and looking at how things are happening for you and not to you a lot of the time is a great way to change your thought process. Exercise is going to help your emotional health, doing the right exercise for you. You don't have to push yourself and nearly vomit and think that you're going to be the fittest person in the gym. You can just go for a walk, particularly in nature. If you want to go out in nature, that is the best way to exercise, outside in the sunshine. Getting sunshine is so important for your emotional health. The sun is our life force energy, and we continually block it from ourselves with sunglasses, hats, shades. Sun is important. I'm not saying to go out there and fry yourself in the middle of the day, but you do need to get out in the sun as much as you possibly can. You know, if, like, for example, I lived in England for a while, loved it. Why I came home after 3 years was because I couldn't handle the lack of sunlight. It made me feel shit. It made me emotional. Like, it affected my mental health. It was dark a lot of the time. It was grey. I'm not used to that. I live in Australia. So it definitely affects your emotional health, not having enough sunlight. Destructive behaviors like alcohol, drugs, self-harm, um, sabotaging good relationships. When you have a good friendship, when you find a good partner and you sabotage that because you think you don't deserve it, or you can't hang on to it, or they're going to leave you, or they're going to stop being your friend, or whatever it is. That's a destructive behavior to yourself. Instead of going, look at how good this is. This is a great friend of mine, or I finally found somebody who's going to love me right. And then running with that and treating them just as good as they treat you. Like, instead of sabotaging it and just cutting them off, how about looking at how you can be a good friend to them or a good partner to them, and working together with your emotional health and not sabotaging that relationship? That's really important, because I see that a lot. Fear. Fear is huge. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of change, the unknown definitely impacts your emotional health. How you think and speak about yourself, if you're going to talk shit about yourself, that's how you're going to feel, like shit. So, emotional health strategies, I'm going to give you some. As I said, I don't like to overwhelm you with a lot of different things, but these are some basic things that you can do that can improve your emotional health for now. So you can recognize that you have emotions, because a lot of us don't recognize that. We're like, I don't have emotions. I didn't think I had emotions. I didn't even think they were important. And I remember when I started using essential oils, the one part of essential oil healing is emotional healing, right? They are huge facilitators to your emotional health. I completely rejected that. I completely rejected that they could help me emotionally. And all the oils that were really grounding and calming, I didn't like them at all. I was all about the physical health, like the digestive oils, ones for headaches, ones for cleansing, physical, and completely rejected the emotional. And one of the women that introduced these to me, she was all about the emotional health, and I kept thinking, oh, would she shut up about it? I don't need this. I don't need to know about those oils, because I don't have that. I don't have a problem. Like, I just did not recognize my emotional issues at all. So it's okay. It's okay to recognize how you feel. This doesn't mean it's okay to feel angry all the time, because, like I said, you show a lot of signs of anger when you don't recognize your emotions. So many of us have been raised to feel how our parents think we should feel. So this is what we learn, to not feel at all. So no one should ever feel judged about how they feel. Your emotions are yours and they're valid. So how can we recognize our own emotions? So let's say, I'll give you a scenario. Let's say you lose your job. Sit somewhere quiet, sit down somewhere peaceful, maybe in the sun, and write down what comes up, like how it makes you feel. You might not know at first. You might not know how it makes you feel, but think about some of the things that you would feel or someone else would feel. You know, does it make you happy that you've lost your job? Does it piss you off? What are the things? All the feelings that you write down are valid. Do this for happy events too. Like, you know, if you get married or whatever it is, write down how you feel about it and spend some time on it. Don't just give it 2 minutes. So when we journal, we can see what triggers certain emotions in us. So when we write something down, it cements it in our mind and it cements it energetically. So journaling is really important. Then what you can do is write down the solutions and all the good things that can come from this, because you can find good in any situation, right? So the good in losing your job could be you might learn some new skills, you'll get a better job, you might earn more money, you won't have to work with that bitch Mary anymore. Like, there are many good things to having to get another job. Obviously, there's some shitty things, but let's not focus on those. Let's focus, like when you are focusing on the good in a situation, you are raising your vibration and you're raising your energy, and your emotional health is going to start to be more positive. So when you focus on the good, then you're going to, raise your vibration. So another thing you can do is with positive thoughts. Now, people think that they're positive. I see people respond on Facebook to comments or posts, and they just attack people. I mean, I have a thyroid group, and I've been attacked by people in that group, and then I'll talk about being positive and towards your healing and emotions, and they are like literally biting my head off, telling me how they're a positive person, and I'm like, honey, I don't even have to see you in person to know that, you're not a positive person. Positive people do not attack other people for having an opinion or sharing their journey or sharing information. Positive people don't do that. Reactive people do that. So begin to take note of how you think and speak about yourself, because then this is going to help you how you think and speak about other people as well. So notice when you start talking negative words about yourself, negative when you think about, oh my God, I look disgusting today, or oh my God, like look at my hair, or I'm not good at such and such. Start to change that. Like, I'm really good at blah, blah, blah. I really like my hair today. My eyes are whatever. Like, find something good and change it. Stop and think about it and reword it to be a positive sentence or a positive affirmation in your mind, and write it down. Write it down if you have to. Same with other people or events. Look at how you can turn it into a positive. So if someone's been a dick, you can ignore that person. You don't have to get involved. You don't have to straighten them out or tell them how they should be. They're not going to change for you because you tell them to, or you have an argument with them. Look at how you can either remove yourself from the situation or how you can react. Because if you're going to fire back and react, you're just going to raise the situation and make it worse. Whereas if you look at a positive situation, or you ignore that person's behavior, or you don't react, angry people, right? Often when you react with love and kindness, they don't know what to do with it. And I try to do that as much as I can now, because I was reactive. When somebody does something to me, I'm not saying that I'm going around allowing people to be shit to me all the time. I don't have to have that person in my life. But sometimes they're going through something that I don't know about, and maybe they're being a dick for that reason. I don't need to add fuel to the situation. And I don't need to inhibit my own potential personal growth or, affect my emotional health because somebody else is going through something. So I can either remove myself, I can send them love and light, I can ask them if they're okay. There's lots of things that you can do other than react the way they are acting. I know it's not always that easy, but sometimes just pausing before, or thinking before you speak. You don't have to take people's shit. This is not what I'm saying. You do not have to take people's shit. I'm big on not taking people's shit, but you don't have to be an asshole back, because you're just affecting yourself. Everything that you do affects you, and you can choose if somebody else affects you, but you got to choose how you affect you. And that's self-acceptance, understanding that you are in control of your own happiness. This is what I'm talking about. You have control of how happy you are. Obviously, situations in your life are going to make you miserable, but do you want to stay that way? Like, if something happened to you 5, 10 years ago, do you still need to have it affect your life? Do you still need to shut people out? Do you still need to think about it and hate about it or be angry about it? It's only affecting you. That situation that happened 10 years ago is done. It's probably only affecting you. It's probably not affecting anybody else. But to hang on to it and not move forward, your physical body is going to be affected, but your whole happiness, your whole life, your energy, everything is going to be affected. It will affect your immune system, absolutely everything. So no one can make you happy. Only you can make you happy. People can facilitate your happiness, right? So if you're going to hang out with a miserable person, you're going to feel pretty shitty hanging out with miserable people. But if you hang out with happy, positive people, they are facilitating your happiness. It's going to rub off. The energy in the group is going to be higher than the energy in a group of people who are going to sit there and bitch and whinge and complain about their life. So notice, like, accept what's going on with you, and that happiness is not outside of ourselves. It's not in a home. It's not in a new car. It's not in a partner. It's within you. It's all about you. So evaluate your relationships with people. Start to remove yourself from toxic people. You don't have to be completely out of their life, but you can not hang out with them as much. Or once they start to talk negative and whatever, you can leave. You don't need certain people in your life. Surround yourself with happy, positive people. Write down all the things that you love about yourself. Mix it up with physical and personal characteristics, but write some things that you love about yourself. It's a really, really hard thing to do. Really hard. But you will find some things, and sit there until you get them. And celebrate yourself. Put yourself first. If something really good happens in your life, celebrate that. Celebrate your birthday. Celebrate celebration is a positive energy, positive, I don't know, situation. Celebrate things that happen to you in your life, because more good things will come to you from that feeling, right? So put yourself first, say no to people, no more people pleasing and, oh, I've got to do that for someone, because what you're doing is putting other people first and yourself last. You need to put yourself first. What happens is with people pleasers is they're going and they're trying to help so many people that they don't have time for themselves. And that's the way they want it. They don't know that, but they choose that because it's easier to help other people than it is to help yourself. So putting yourself first is really important. Gratitude, some of these things are crossing over with the mental health too, right? But do them all, whatever. Gratitude. People who practice gratitude experience more positive emotions. So write it down, say it before you go to bed. One thing, three things that you're grateful for. I live in a beautiful area. I take the dog for a walk around the beach, and I look and I go, oh my God, I'm so grateful that I live here. I am so lucky that I live here. I'm so lucky that the sun's shining today. Like, I look at my kids. I'm so grateful, grateful for my friends. I'm so grateful for life, because I wasn't at one point. I wasn't grateful. I wasn't happy. Now I am. But gratitude, again, raises your vibration. Meditate. So you can just go onto YouTube and put in 10-minute meditation of letting go, or 10-minute meditation for self-love. Think of whatever it is, positive emotions, put it in and do a 10-minute meditation in the morning. It's going to help calm the mind. Set goals. When you achieve that goal, celebrate that achievement. So there's no, like, people say you got to set goals this way and that way. Do whatever feels comfortable for you. You don't have to do 700 goals a month or whatever it is. Just do one goal if that's what makes you comfortable, and then reevaluate in 3 months. But set some goals of things that you want to achieve, and when you do that, you celebrate that. Stay connected. That means stay connected with people. We are community-bound people. You look at tribes, you look at a lot of other cultures around the world that still live in villages and tribes. Community is important. We learn so much from other people. We take on so much from other people. And when we have lost that sense of community, we lose how we can heal ourselves, basically. So this is where women and men's circle and groups come in really well. Women should be surrounding themselves with happy, positive women, and men should be surrounding themselves with the same thing. There's nothing wrong with mixing men and women, but we do need separate lives. Men and women are different. I don't care what you say. Men and women are different, and men should be together and talking, and we should encourage this, not hanging out with boys again. And I mean, obviously some men when they get together are stupid, but men in healing groups are super powerful, and so are women. Women are healers. Women, when you look at a village or a tribe, like I was talking about, or how we have all evolved, the women in the village were the medicine women. People would go to the woman for healing, and women talk and they express things, and they all have this community vibe, and women together, empowering women is super important. So is men. So that's why things like men's walk, man walk, whatever it's called, men's sheds, they are important. Let your man go to it to allow his emotional health to improve. You don't want your man coming back blind drunk if he's a dickhead when he drinks. But this is about, like, encourage them to seek men's groups that are interested in healing. There's a lot of them on Instagram, Facebook. I can't remember what they are off the top of my head right now. But I do have a really good friend who I might get on my podcast at some point, who he went through a really big healing journey through a men's group. And he swears by it now. Like, if you knew who he was before to who he is now, the transformation is amazing. So it's really important for men and women to be together in their own groups and talk about things that they feel comfortable about, that they understand each other about as well. Find a hobby or a passion for yourself. If you've got kids and everything that you do is devoted to them, I know you love it, but you need something for you. Whatever it is, something that makes you happy, that's for you, you need to put yourself first. It raises your emotional health a lot. And know when to get expert help. It's more empowering to get help than it is to try and deal with it by yourself and just sit and struggle. By doing it by yourself, there are things that you can do, and some of these, are great things to do for yourself, but you need to seek help from people. That's the way it is. Also, I think I've missed this one, grounding. Grounding helps you get out of your head. So when you go outside and get into nature and you're walking on the natural earth with bare feet, you're getting positive energy from the earth. The earth has a lot of positive energy coming up through the core, right? When you're taking in that positive energy, you're going to sleep better, you're going to have less inflammation, less pain, but it also helps your emotional health, helps you get out of your head. When you go and look at the world around you and what's going on, you're down the beach or you're in a forest or you're going on a bushwalk, you can leave a lot of, you can visualize leaving a lot of your painful feelings behind. When you're there, just start to think about releasing, like, yep, I'm going to release that. I'm going to release that. Release the toxicity while you're in nature. It's really important. Get them out of your body and let nature dissolve them. Do some breathing exercises while you're there, while you're grounding, while you're taking in nature. But let nature absorb your negative energy, your negative emotions, and wash it away. It's really important. Particularly swimming in natural water is so cleansing and healing, whether it be the ocean, a river, a lake, whatever it is. Not a swimming pool with chlorine in it, but swimming is cleansing. Swimming in natural water is completely cleansing. So those are some emotional health strategies that you can take on board, whether you take on one, whether you take on all of them. But it's really important to your healing to focus on this, because the physical health is affected by your emotional health. So if you've been going for years and with physical problems and you're doing all the right things physically, I can guarantee that the emotional health is the major problem. So if you have resonated with this podcast, please share it. Make sure you follow it. We want to reach as many people as we can to help them through their health and well-being journey. You don't need to have a thyroid or autoimmune disease to listen to this podcast and to get something out of it. This is for everybody. So share it with people you love who you want to see, feel better. So I am Naomi Suzanne, and next week we will be talking more about the emotional healing.